Hello class, I just wanted to check in on your still life drawing for this week and show my still life drawing. I have a single directional light shining on my still life. I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't get disrupted. I put white paper underneath it so I could better see the shadows, but you could also use cloth. And I'm not using an easel to draw. I have some toned paper, the tannish toned paper that I'm drawing on. And I actually have it on top of a stool. This is not, the best way to draw. Usually you'd like to have some kind of a board so you're at an angle and you could see it like that and not on a curved surface. But even though I have an easel in my studio, I'm trying just to use what you have to be fair. So today I wanted to show you how to use these shading sticks that we have in our toolkit. And so I've got this started, and you can see I used white to highlight some of the areas that would be lighter. And this kind of helps me know where lighter areas are going to be and to leave those so I don't go too far. And generally I tend to be to use like maybe too much and for it to get a little dark. And so I'm trying to lighten things up first, and then I can always make it darker from there. As a reminder, I have my harder pencils and my middle pencil, the HB, and I've got my little value scale sitting right out, and so I can always see what that looks like. But today what I really wanted to show you is that how to use these shading sticks. You can see I'm really working in there on it on the side, and it can really help get into that tooth of the paper. And you can work into that white, and if it gets a little dark, you can come back in with an eraser. So don't forget that this eraser is such an important part of our toolkit. Sometimes removing pigment is as important as adding pigment, and it's an important kind of lesson to learn. And you can work back and forth quite a bit, and it's kind of a great part about working with drawing is that generally most of the time, unless you're working with ink, you can fix it. So you can see I'm working into this. And a lot of times I'm going to try to use kind of like a circular motion as I'm doing that to make sure I don't get really sharp marks. Also, I want to remind you of the last assignment when we were looking at negative space. If you look between that weird bird head and then the wooden chicken, there's a negative space that I was really looking at when I was mapping this out. The space between the objects. Remember, that is negative space, and that is shape, and it's going to help you define what you're looking at. So please don't forget about that important part. Don't forget about looking at the shadows. And if it gets a little too light, or if it's too dark, adjust and add more pigment or erase some. I mean, sometimes you have to go both ways. You can see I haven't added any here, just using the shading stick, moving up. And that is starting to shade that because there's enough pigment still on this thing. Also, if you look at the shadows, I was really seeing that there's a dark shadow here, but over here there's a lighter shadow that started out a little bit darker and then gradually got lighter and moved into this one. I also showed where my paper was warping. I have one object in front of another. These are all things that I'm thinking about as I'm working on this drawing. So don't forget, you have different pencils. The lightest pencil is going to be your 3H. Your darkest pencil is going to be the 5B in your kit. Other kits would have different levels. And that these shading sticks can be really great. It can kind of get rid of sharp edges, so sometimes you do have to work back in there with your eraser and sharper pencil to reestablish those lines if you need to. But usually it is a really great tool to be able to use that you haven't really used so far. All right, good luck on your drawing.